All right, family. Hello, everyone. I'm here. Hope everyone's doing well and having a great day. Yeah, it's been exhausting trying to look for a new apartment, but I have my faith and I'm not giving up. I still stand on what I believe in, and that's, not accepting and tolerating abuse, even if it's from your neighbor. So I know Abba Yahuwah will be with me. He always is, and hopefully, I'll get the security deposit, family. But I'm here to talk about the Vatican and the Synagogue of Satan in the Vatican, right? I don't know. Just kind of random right now because I'm, like I said, kind of a little disorganized, trying to move and trying not to stress about like where I'm gonna go, and hoping and praying that I don't become homeless or anything. But I'm hopefully going to be moving into a new apartment. But like I said, if I have to live on the streets, then so be it. Because I know that I hope and pray that I'm strong and I don't take the mark of the beast. In order to buy or sell, you're going to have that mark. You're going to have to be microchipped, probably living in a smart city. But I have been watching these very interesting videos on the Vatican and just the depths of depravity in the Vatican. And, it's all goes back to the synagogue of Satan, right? Revelation 2:9, those who say they are Jews and are not, but are the synagogue of Satan. And that's what, I don't understand about Christians and Christianity, how you can worship JC, knowing all the evils of the Vatican and all the workings of Satan, even the daughters, of Christianity, the 46,000 denominations of Christianity, and you're still worshiping JC and that image. The anti-Messiah who says that we don't have to keep the law and the law's been done away with. That is anti-Messiah spirit. Christianity is anti-Messiah spirit, family. So, with that said, yeah, I'm just going to, continue the preaching work to the best of my ability and not give up hope. I can't give up hope, when it comes to, my faith and what I believe. I know that there is a creator who loves me, who wants me to heal, who wants me to be whole. And I also know, the creator doesn't want me to tolerate any kind of disrespect or any kind of narcissistic abuse, for that matter, right? It's hard to be, on this narrow road and to be targeted by Satan. I mean, because I'm exposing evil, and I'm trying to be obedient to the 10 commandments and the 10 words. So it can be hard, being set apart is not easy, fam. And I trust in Yahuwah. I trust in my creator and that he's going to see me through this. People have been worshiping the beast and his image through the Catholic Church, through the Roman Vatican, the Catholic Church. People have been worshiping Satan. Christians are worshiping Satan. And, yeah, it's just, that's why I say, I don't have any hatred towards these neighbors because they're Catholic and they're quote unquote Christians. And, it's not, I'm trying to just get through it, and continue on my journey. No matter where Abba Yahuwah takes me, I'm going to continue the preaching work. And, but yeah, there's a lot of evil within, the Catholic Church and the Synagogue of Satan, for sure. Yes. And that spirit is just wicked. It's wicked. They're worshiping Satan, and they've been worshiping Satan. Yeah. Their false claim of being, Jewish, and there's no J in Hebrew. So I'm trying to pull some things up. Bear with me, family. I just got done, making some phone calls, trying hard to get a security deposit. So if anyone wants to help, I'm grateful, and I'm thankful. Let's see. So they are falsely claiming to be the Yahudim of the Bible, the Hebrews of the Bible, and it's not truthful. It's not even truthful. So, I've had a lot of people come up against me and because I'm grafted in to Yisrael. I'm not a Christian. There's nothing in the scriptures that says Christian. So, yeah, I'm not a Christian. I'm set apart from religion. And, I'm Hebrew. I'm following my Hebrew Messiah, and that's why I rebuke these Christians, a strong rebuke, because they are part of this, they are part of the synagogue of Satan. Unknowingly, when you're, into Judaism or Christianity, you're part of the synagogue of Satan. The Vatican is so wicked and so evil, and they created that image of JC, Caesar Borgia. I mean, there's just so much information out here. It's unbelievable. And he said, my people perish for a lack of knowledge. I mean, but knowledge can't save you, family, right? We have to trust in the finished work that Yahushua HaMashiach did on the stake, the atonement for our sins, and that's where my faith is. But faith without works is dead. You have to have good works. And part of those good works is being obedient to the 10 Commandments that are not done away with, keeping the 7th-day Shabbat. And I got into it with this Christian that says I'm a Sabbatarian, as if that's a bad thing to keep Father's Sabbath set apart or preach to keep it set apart. I mean, so yeah, the synagogue of Satan, the Vatican, that's why the Pope wears the kippah and wears that little hat, because that is mystery religion. That is mystery Babylon. That is the synagogue of Satan, and they are definitely, worshiping Lucifer, or very demonic, all the snake symbolism and everything else, and the idolatry going on, the Jesuits, the Society of Jesus, a false Messiah, a false name. I mean, the list goes on and on and on, family. I just don't understand. But I'm grateful because he said the mysteries of the kingdom are not given to these people. It's not given to them. So hold on to what you have and don't cast your pearls before these pigs, because that's what he's saying. The mystery of the kingdom is not with them. It's not. It's not. So, yeah, he talks about that. It says, to you, it has been given. So if he's given us he's given it to us, not the Christians that are celebrating Easter and Christmas. They don't have the mysteries of the kingdom. They're not part of the covenant. They're not part of Abba's family. Still doing witchcraft and New Age practices and, Order of the Phoenix and all these things, But he says that the mystery of the kingdom has been given to you. That's in Luke 8:10. Luke 8:10. So there's going to be, there's this division happening, family. There is this division, and it starts at the top, right? The Vatican. The Vatican. It does. It starts at the top of the pyramid, so to speak. And who's the all-seeing eye? The devil, the omnipresent, force, the all-seeing eye. Because Satan can only use technology to be like the Most High, but he's not the Most High. And the Most High sees everything. He sees everything. There's nothing hidden from Abba Yahuwah's, eyes. So Satan wants to be like the Most High. And he can only do it by using his technology and his flying monkeys, if you will, right? He has flying monkeys too. But Luke 10, he said, to you it has been given to know the mysteries of the kingdom of God, or Yahuwah. But to rest, it is given in parables. But to the rest, it is given in parables, that seeing they may not see, and hearing they may not understand. So we're blessed, family. We're blessed. We have eyes to see, ears to hear, and we have the mysteries of the kingdom. It's been given to us. We're not Christians. We're not following after, Paul's writings and twisting them. I've had a debate with a Christian about eating pork and shrimp and all these abominations that Abba doesn't want us to eat, our Creator. They twist the scriptures to their own destruction, family. And so that's what I'm saying. You're not going to be welcomed in these complexes, in the cities, in the apartments. Okay? Now, I'm not going to, I'm not a troublemaker. No. I'm going to move into the next apartment and, if there's a Christian or someone that I can preach to or share the light with, then I'm going to let my light shine before men. I'm not going to dim my light. And you're going to do your best to be a peacemaker, but you tell the truth. You tell the truth. So if someone is breaking the 10 Commandments, they're bearing false witness against you and things of that nature, you don't just let people bear false witness against you, make up lies about you, gossip and slander. There's ways to rebuke. But believe me, you're not going to be liked, you're going to be hated, and you're going to be banned from the city. I mean, we're not talking about, drunkenness and loud music and, partying and damaging property or something. We're talking about real kingdom preaching work and sharing the light amongst the darkness, because these people are in utter darkness and there's no light in them. It says, if any man preach another basora, another gospel, let them be accursed. And Christians are cursed. They're cursed, family. They are the synagogue of Satan. All these little harlot churches are all the daughters of Rome, the Vatican, and they're all worshiping Satan. JC, the image of the beast, the devil, the image. They've been worshiping Satan. Christians. He came in his Father's name. He never abolished his Father's law. None of these things are true, family. So I'm just trying to stay strong, because I know that these people are under the power of the wicked one. And what they're doing to me is wickedness. But I preached and I rebuked and I'm ready to move forward. And hopefully, for those who want to help me, with a deposit, I pray that you can. But, we're not going to be liked. We're not going to be welcomed. I mean, we're being banned from YouTube and social media. We're being censored and banned on a daily basis. So we're going to be censored in real time and hated. Absolutely hated. For his name's sake. Our Abba Yahuwah, our Father, our Creator. Not this JC, not this Christian God that the Christians and Catholics worship, who say the law's been done away with, including the 7th-day Sabbath, family. So, I know that Abba Yahuwah has my back. He's a good father, and this is what we're living in right now. We're in the biblical end of days, and I just have to pray that it goes well at the new apartment. And I'm going to run into probably the same things. Now some would say, oh, well, why don't you just be quiet and You shouldn't be preaching. And really, is that what the word tells us? That we're supposed to not warn the watchmen's, not supposed to warn the people? Give me a break. But you're not going to be welcomed, and you're not going to be liked when you start preaching this truth. You're just not. And certainly if people are transgressing against you and harming your animal and doing cruelty, and you bring that to light, they're not going to like you. I'm an outsider, family. I'm set apart. I'm not Christian. I'm not part of Babylon. I don't do what Babylon does. Lying and cheating and stealing and bearing false witness. And I'm not being removed from my apartment for non-payment. I pay my bills. I'm a law-abiding citizen, family. So yeah, it's been an interesting journey, and I pray and hope that I continue to walk out my faith, and I stay on the narrow path, and I don't compromise for no one. And I'm not a people pleaser. No, I'm not a people pleaser, family. I'm not. And yeah, people are going to think I'm crazy, and that's fine. They're entitled to their opinion. But the word says I'm sound of mind. That I'm fearfully and wonderfully made in my Father's image. Am I perfect? Absolutely not. I'm trying to work through some hardcore hurts, narcissistic abuse, and then going through it with people in this world that don't, because the love of many has waxed cold. Yes, the love of many has waxed cold. That's why they don't care. They don't care if they put you out and you got nowhere to go. It's all about the money, fam. It's all about the money with these people. Landlords are whomever. Yes. That's why like with this new landlord, it's like you got to have that money. They don't care if you're going to be homeless. It's a business. Everything in Babylon is about money. Now, I hope and pray this lady is half decent and gives me back my $500 security deposit, family. But there's no guarantee. There's no guarantees, right? There's just not, because they're greedy in Babylon. Babylon is greed. It's greed. It's greediness, and that's one of the sins of this modern day Sodom and Gomorrah. Greed. People are living in greed. But I can't allow it to affect me, family. I have to, I know what it is. Excuse me, rather. Let me see. Let me remove this. Wait a second. Okay. People are greedy. And these landlords are greedy, and they lie. That's the thing, you see? They lie, right? They bear false witness. They lie. I was in another apartment in Trenton, New Jersey. It was a cursed city, and he was a Mason. No lie. He was a Freemason. He had a Freemason ring. Okay. So this man was a Mason, and he told me prior to moving in that apartment that that the lady who lived there prior to me was shoving pads in the toilet. And guess what happened, family? When it was time for me to move out, because at that time, yes, I did fall behind in rent, and I was still living in gross sin. Okay. So I take accountability, and that was my fault. I did, fall behind. But, I was trying to make a payment plan, and we were working on a payment plan, right? But he lied against me, another liar. Yes. Another lying landlord, fam. And, yeah. Yep. He, on my eviction or the paperwork for the court, the same thing he accused that lady of, he accused me of, and said the pipe was leaking, and I was shoving pads down the toilet and all this stuff. You see? Yes, family, this is real. Like, this is really happening. The hearts of many have waxed completely cold. They have no empathy. That's the narcissist. No love, no empathy. They lie, they cheat, they steal, they're greedy. They don't care, and that was a security deposit that I didn't get back from that landlord either. Now, there's not $500 worth of damage in my apartment. There's just not, family. So I hope this lady gives me back my money, but who knows with these folks? They're already lying against me. They're in false witness. They're under the power of the wicked one. Yes, it's real, family. It's real, and it's happening. So I just need prayer. If you're able to help support, with a security deposit, that's wonderful. If not, I understand. I've called all the government agencies, and already know the drill. If you know, you know. They never have the money. They have enough money for them and their people, but they'll never have enough money to help you. Kind of like the Christian church, right? They got money for themselves, but then when it comes to you, you're kind of hanging out dry. But I'm not bitter, family. I'm not bitter. I'm not, angry or anything. But I'm just realizing that the spirit of Antichrist is definitely alive and well, and it's in these Christians that are heartless. They don't care. They don't have love. They don't know what love really is. They don't know the scripture, and that's why it says, because of lawlessness, the love of many will grow cold. Um, but I'm trying to stay strong and not let my love grow cold, and not, be a callous individual, a cruel individual, even though I'm being treated cruelly, because I repented of my sins and I don't live how I used to live, and I don't have this street mentality, tit for tat, evil for evil. No, those days are behind me. You become the new creature, right, family? So yeah, the Vatican and the Synagogue of Satan is definitely, wickedness. It's evil. It's, these Christians have no love in their heart. Their love has waxed cold. They're living in idolatry. And they get angry with you when you speak the truth in love, because love tells the truth. That's the thing. Love tells the truth, but they don't think I'm a loving person, and that's fine. They're entitled to their opinion. But if they're not going to judge with righteousness and righteous right ruling, because they've been taught that the law is done away with, and that we don't, so if there's no law, then there's no righteous right ruling in the communities, right? And most of the judges are all Freemasons anyway. That includes landlord, tenant, everything. The judges are corrupt. There's no right ruling, family. So again, I thank everyone who is new and subscribed. Again, I have some videos, some lives coming up, but I explained, I'm in the process of moving. I got to be leaving my apartment by the 31st. And I'm, I have a new apartment. It's not the best, but I'm grateful. I'm thankful, and I'm blessed. And I'm just going to keep fighting the good fight of faith, because I know that these people are under the power of Satan. They're under the power of Satan. And, and I'm not holding a grudge or anger, it's not worth it. The Bible says you reap what you sow, and it's going to come back on their head 7 times, believe me. The way that I was treated at this apartment, the way the animal was being treated, and, like I said, I'm just kind of watching videos recently. So this has been on my mind about the Synagogue of Satan, the Vatican. It's all about money, family. It's all about money. It's a money game. It's a money game. And that's how this Babylonian system works. It's all about the money, and that's why they're going to remove, the ability to buy or sell, because it's all about money and digital currency. And I'm not interested in digital currency or anything about the mark of the beast as far as the physical mark is concerned. But the spiritual mark, the Christians already have that. They're worshiping a false Messiah, Jesus Christ, and that's just something that they cannot receive. And why? Because they love not the truth. They didn't receive the truth because they don't love the truth. They're worshiping Christmas, Jesus. Easter, Jesus. Jesus, Hare Krishna. So again, I'm not going to bridle my tongue when it comes to biblical truth. No, I'm not. People can call me a false prophet, a false preacher. They can come up against me any which way they want, a wolf in sheep's clothing, family. I don't care. This is not an easy message to deliver to Christians, but it must be delivered. And, my delivery is not always the best because I get angry and frustrated. But you know what? Just like we learned, right? Just like we learned, the mystery of the kingdom hasn't been given to the Christians. It hasn't been given to Christians or Christianity, a religion. The synagogue of Satan, the Vatican, is where their religion came from. Mystery religion that the Bible tells us about and warns us about. And the mystery, of lawlessness has been at work. Lawlessness. So if we're practicing Christmas, birthdays, Easter, pagan holidays, yes, you are indoctrinated by Babylonian teachings, the Talmud, the Vatican, and the Vatican is wicked. I've been really, really getting into these videos, family, so this is just like a little preview of things that I, would like to talk about. Besides, narcissism and things like that, and I just pray that this channel grows. But yeah, it's going to come, family, where we're going to be preaching on the streets and we're going to be homeless and we're not taking the mark of the beast and we're not going to be part of this system. And many, many are, struggling financially out here because of, the prices and everything that's going on. So, the food prices, the tariffs, we're in the end times, family. So wherever I go, I'm always going to be grateful and thankful to Abba Yahuwah. I'm always going to be grateful no matter where he has me. And that's kind of why I left New Jersey anyway, to be homeless, to live in Florida, to have my backpack and my Bible and to preach and to meet other like-minded people who are on the streets and doing the preaching work, the street preaching. Because we're not going to be welcomed anywhere. You're not going to be able to get Section 8 housing or food stamps or, anything from the government. Okay? And certainly not anyone is going to, be part of the system that's, here on YouTube and monetizing your channel. You're going to have to be part of the beast. You're going to have to be part of the system. Verifying yourself and all these different things, right? Digital ID, real ID identities, and, putting microchips in your body and being part of a transhumanism agenda, family. So it's not going to be nice for anybody. It's not going to be nice. So all those people that want to judge people on food stamps and Section 8 housing that are poor and struggling, are there people who take advantage of it? Of course there are. But their outrage should be towards the top. Because the top is the corporations who are getting welfare checks and everything else. So let's just, not be all on top of people who are, abusing the welfare system when we have greedy corporations who are abusing the people through greed on a daily basis, right? I'm certainly not abusing the system. Like I said, I survived narcissistic abuse. I was adopted into a home that practiced witchcraft and did wicked, evil things behind closed doors, secret societies, yes. Okay. And my landlord, like I said, he was a Freemason, and my mom pointed out his ring, and they were all goo 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 gaga over the Freemasonic ring family. So, and a lot of foster parents are part of the system. They're part of the adoption agencies. and they're doing wickedly in those agencies. Some of the children go missing. For those who know, you know how deep the rabbit hole really goes. So I survived foster care and being adopted into a satanic family. And my mom's family was Roman Catholic, worshiping Satan. Demonic family. So I'm in my healing journey. And that's why I say, you gotta give yourself time to heal the mind, your heart, your wounds, the emotions, the spiritual side of it. Yes, because these people don't care about you. They don't care what they did to you, spiritually, mentally, emotionally. They just chew you up and spit you out, and that's it. It's a dog-eat-dog world, And these Masons are everywhere. Believe me, they're your landlords, they're teachers, they're lawyers, they're doctors. They're here on YouTube. They're in the narcissistic abuse community, for sure. I see their symbolism everywhere. And their covert, symbolism, okay, on their channel. I try not to have any symbolism because I'm not into the occult. And, I'm mindful of what I wear and, things, all those things. I would never want someone to mistake me for that. No, absolutely not. I'm not part of any Illuminati or Freemasonic clubs or anything. And I'm sure people wouldn't even believe me, right? They would, oh, really? No. But when I first started watching Narc Daily, Andrew, he says his favorite number is 33, and I've seen him throw up the devil horn signs. Yes. And I watch his channel, and I still watch him. But let's not be silly, okay? They're in the community family. I mean, Andrew always says on Narc Daily, oh, everyone reveals themselves eventually. I'm going to reveal myself too. Well, he did, and I read between the lines, so. And he had some nude woman in a painting in the back of one of his videos. I thought that was a little off. But hey, to each his own. But let him do his thing. That's his channel. But I peep these things, okay? I peep everything. I peep the phoenixes, and I just have to guard my heart, family. I have to guard my heart because the Bible says to guard our hearts, even in these communities. Like I said, they're doing witchcraft on you. That's how they know so much about the dark energy behind the narcissistic person, because they're part of the occult. They're part of it. Of course, they have the knowledge about the person and all the darkness surrounding that person, because they're part of the system and the occult system. I've seen other channels, doing the Freemason hand symbolism. And they know of course they know about the spiritual world and the spiritual realm, because they're into it. And they damage people. Like my mom, she was into the occult. They're doing witchcraft on you. And when you're manifesting and you're being, your worst self, they're not going to take accountability for that. Of course not. So it's our job to heal. I know it's my job as a survivor of Satanist, satanic and witchcraft abuse. I have to heal. And I have to find people that are safe that I can talk to. Because it is a dark energy force that doesn't want to see me, do good. It doesn't want to see me heal and prosper. It is dark, and it's wicked, and it's the devil. It's, it's not this, I don't talk New Age talk. I try to stay out of all that mess, energy and all this stuff. No, it's a spiritual battle between good and evil. And yes, I do believe in demonic possession and oppression. But the Bible is the answer, family. Yahushua HaMashiach said, I am the way, the truth, and the light. And no man comes to the Father but through me. So this is a very serious thing. And I know it's going to get worse, and it's going to get worse. And the more I preach, the more I'll be attacked spiritually. And the more I speak the truth, I'll be attacked. But I'm going to continue to speak the truth. And I'm going to continue to heal family. And hopefully, like I said, I pray that the next place that I go, that I have decent neighbors. And I've met some of them. And they seem, like they're respectful. But you know how it is until the mask slips and you see the real person behind the mask, right? Don't we all know that? So yeah, family, the Vatican is this part of the synagogue of Satan. Those who say they are Jews and are not, and Christians are worshiping in part of the synagogue of Satan. They're worshiping their idol, Jesus Christ, JC. I don't particularly like to use his name because he tells us not to call on the name of other mighty ones. Serious, family. It's very serious. So I take my father very seriously, and I'm not looking for people who don't want to support me in this journey. I mean, of course, I'm not looking for those kinds of people. I've been around those people. They don't want to support me on my journey. They don't believe in me. I don't need that in my life. I'm trying to find people who believe in me, who know that I'm going to overcome all this satanic and witchcraft abuse. I'm going to overcome. And it's a challenge because it's hard to talk to people. It's taboo, family. It's taboo. And Christianity is witchcraft. It is. They're praying to Satan. Okay, so when you pray to JC and something good happens, yeah, just like anybody else, they pray to their God and the God blesses them. Of course. And they believe it's the real God. That's why he said test every spirit, because not every spirit is of our Father. And the Vatican in Christianity is not of our Father. Nothing of our Creator and our Father. We have to read the scriptures. We cannot allow Christians to deceive us no more. We can't be ignorant of Satan's devices, the cross, idolatry, Christmas. Those are all Satan's devices that lead us into idolatry and lies and leads us astray if we're not careful. We have to be careful and not get into the New Age teachings, because that's really where we're at. We're in the New Age. We're in a new world order. We're in the New Age. That's why you always hear them say the rising of the phoenix. Coming out of the ashes. That's all New World Order talk. And it's on many of these channels. And just because a person has a lot of subscribers doesn't mean that they have truth. Doesn't mean they have truth. And I'm not above correction. I'm not above rebuke, family. I'm just a servant of the Most High, fixing my life, getting my life together, and healing from witchcraft and narcissistic abuse. And again, guarding my heart and being careful how much I'm sharing on these platforms. Because the days are wicked. And they really are. The days are wicked, family. And they're going to get more wicked in these last days. So we have to guard our hearts. That's why I can't open up to everyone. And I don't even really like opening up on these platforms. I don't. Yeah, the world is in moral decline. Okay? Like, seriously. Because they left the 10 Commandments. Because of their disobedience. And that's why we're in this mess. Because we left our Father, our Creator. Thou shalt have no other mighty ones before his face. JC is another mighty one. He's another mighty one before our Father's face. That image, the spirit of the Vatican and everything. Why would you want to worship what the Vatican is worshiping? They're worshiping JC. Some of the Christian churches, they're worshiping Baal. Oh man, family. Just keep me in prayer if you can help me, financially. Either way, I told you I'm not monetizing the channel, and I would only ask for help if I really needed the help. Obviously, I don't I'm not a scammer or any of that garbage, or just manipulate to get money. This is serious. And as time progresses, it's going to get a lot worse, and the love of many is going to wax cold. And it's hard out here. It is hard out here, family, and it's going to get harder and harder, especially for those who aren't going to participate in the system. So we're going to have communities, I suppose, where we're going to probably be living in the woods and, off the grid, and or whatever's going to happen. But, the AIs will find you. They're going to find you. They got robots. They got eyes in the sky. But you know what? I really believe that the Most High, yeah, he can cloak us and make us invisible. That's how powerful our God, Yahuwah, our God, is. Just like they have technology, but we have the Most High. We have the Most High. I'll tell you a story, right? Okay, when I was in Florida and I was with this, narc, and the police were looking for me, and I wasn't, I hadn't done anything wrong, other than, stick up for myself, and I walked away from the situation, and the officers were looking for me. And somebody prayed Psalm 91 over me, family. And guess what? Those cops rode right by me, like I was invisible. Okay? So when we're in trouble in this world, we got to have full authority over the devil and the devil's children, people who lie about you, try to get police involvement. Yes. Okay? Yes. The Most High will protect you. The Most High will protect his children in these times that we're living in. They can have all this technology and all this. You pray Psalm 91 over you, family. It's like you're invincible. And I'm telling you, they rode right by me like I wasn't even there. The Father is our Father, and he's going to guide and protect his children on where to go in the end times. I hope you believe it. I hope you receive it. When they're coming after you and they're looking for you, I can attest to that, family. I can attest that he cloaked me like I was invisible. So, family, I've been on here for a little while now. I hope everyone's doing well. And like I said, always keep me in prayer, and remember, if we turn our ear from hearing the Father's law, even our prayer is an abomination. See, that's another thing Christians don't understand, right? Sorry, family. I thought I was actually on, but I had the microphone off the whole time. Anyway, family, I was saying some things on here, but that's all right. So yeah, the scripture says Yahuwah detests the prayers of a person who ignores the law. So we shouldn't be ignoring the law. The law is written in our hearts, so it can't be done away with because it's written in our heart. We're under a new covenant, and we follow the Sabbath. Yes, we do. That's why he said, remember the Sabbath day, his seventh-day Shabbat. Okay? So we have a high priest. Yahushua HaMashiach is our high priest. So we can technically be celebrating the biblical feast days. So it tells us not to judge a brother or sister based on the celebrating of feast days. Now, we're not talking pagan holidays. We're talking Passover and things like that. So yes, even our prayer is an abomination. Even our prayers are an abomination. Yes. So with that, family, I do apologize that my mic was off, but I have to walk to the grocery store and get a money order, and I'm going to be filling out an application for this apartment, and I'm doing my best, family. I really am. Okay, so thanks to those who pray, and remember, because it's right there in Scripture. If we're not even turning our ear to His law, if we're turning it away from hearing His law, our prayers are an abomination. He detests our prayer. So yes, the law being done away with is not true, family. Christians, pastors, Christians who just regurgitate what their pastor has told them. Yes. We have to be studying for ourselves. That's why he said, study to show thyself approved, family. And that's what I do on a regular basis. And, so I don't want to be part of the synagogue of Satan. And yes, that includes Christianity. And their, Pope is, the Pope, even this new Pope, there's controversy and, it says, call no man father, right? And they're worshiping JC. They're worshiping JC. They're worshiping the image of the beast. And it tells us to calculate the number of the beast. It's the number of a man. And that number is 666, but in actuality it was a Christogram symbol, which is the symbol that is on all the paintings in Rome of JC, family. So again, please forgive me if this was a little choppy. I'm doing my utmost best, but I gotta run and I gotta get a money order and take care of business, family. So shalom. I love y'all. Keep me in prayer. And until the next time. And if you want to help me, I'm extremely, grateful. I understand if you can't. I mean, I get it. There's a lot of scammers out here. There's a lot of people that, they're liars, and it's hard to trust people, right? But like I said, if you want to help me, I'm forever grateful. I told you I would only ever ask if it was absolutely necessary to ask. Because the government, no matter who you are and where you turn, it's going to be this way, right? So again, if you choose to help me, I'm extremely grateful, and I'm thankful. If you can, because this is hard, and I got to keep doing the preaching work, no matter what. I got to keep doing the preaching work. So, regardless of where I go, family, if you want to support, then that's great. And, I'm going to keep trying to get in here on this channel, and be consistent. And hopefully my new place will be a little bit better. I mean, I don't think it's going to be a long-term thing. It's going to be temporary because I'm also living in a flood zone. This area is prone to flooding. So I won't be here very long anyway, I think, in Texas in this particular area. So if you want to help, you want to support, I thank you so much. Shalom, shalom. Stay safe, family. Love you all. Bye.